Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. Welcome back to America Under Distress, America Under Siege. This is the second video for today, possibly one more. The title of it is, which was stated in the previous video, Warning, Ideological Subversion, Active Measures to the Great Reset of 2021 to 2050. I told you in the previous video I wanted to show you where these subversions and where I feel that this country is under distress and this country is under siege. I'll be showing you about a 13-minute video from a former Soviet defector that worked trying to subvert India and other countries. He used the forms of propaganda in the 6 areas that was mentioned before: religion, education, government, social life, law enforcement, labor relations, all those. So, in education. So I'm going to get to the video. There will be some commentary, and I'll come back and talk about the Great Reset. Thank you so much. I'll be right back. This is the video. It was an interview on TV about the subversion of this country. I will play it in its full length for educational purposes. I'll be mentioning some comments through it, but pretty much I'll try to stay out of it. I'll let Yuri talk about his topic that he's an expert at. Here we go.
We spoke several times before about ideological subversion. That is a phrase that I'm afraid some Americans don't fully understand. When the Soviets used the phrase ideological subversion, what do they mean by it?
Ideological subversion is the process which is legitimate, overt, and open. You can see it with your own eyes. All you have to do, all American mass media has to do, is to unplug their bananas from their ears, open up their eyes, and they can see it. There is no mystery. There is nothing to do with espionage. I know that espionage, intelligence gathering, looks more romantic. It sells more deodorants through the advertising, probably. That's why your Hollywood producers are so crazy about James Bond type of thrillers. But in reality, the main emphasis of the KGB is not in the area of intelligence at all. According to my opinion and opinion of many defectors of my caliber, only about 15% of time, money, and manpower is spent on espionage as such. The other 85% is a slow process which we call either ideological subversion or active measures.
Active measures.
In the language of the KGB, or psychological warfare. What it basically means is to change the perception of reality of every American to such an extent that despite of the abundance of information, no one
That's one of the pillars of the Great Reset.
In the interests of defending themselves,
Same format.
Their community and their country. It's a great brainwashing process which goes very slow, and it's divided in 4 basic stages. The first one being demoralization. It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation. Why that many years? Because this is the minimum number of years which requires to educate one generation of students.
Education.
Of your enemy, exposed to the ideology of the enemy. In other words, Marxism-Leninism ideology is being pumped into the soft heads of at least 3 generations of American students without being challenged or counterbalanced by the basic values of Americanism, American patriotism. The result you can see. Most of the people who graduated in the 60s, dropped out,
60s, the turbulent 60s,
are now occupying the positions of power in the government, civil service, business, mass media, educational system. You are stuck with them. You cannot get rid of them. They are contaminated. They are programmed to think and react.
Those are the people that are in government now, that have been brainwashed, that have been subjected to this ideological subversion. Some of them had the same ideological brainwashing through the other side, but he's talking about the communist, Marxist, Leninist philosophy. That brainwashing, that's prevalent throughout this country today.
To certain stimuli in a certain pattern. You cannot change their mind, even if you expose them to authentic information, even if you prove that white is white and black is black, you still cannot change the basic perception and the logic of behavior. In other words, these people, the process of demoralization is complete and irreversible.
You ever talk to somebody that has a different opinion, he will not listen to you? That's exactly what he's talking about.
To educate a new generation of patriotically minded
we tried that, but that was executive order just recently.
Who would be acting in favor and in the interests of the United States society.
And yet these people who've been programmed and, as you say, in place, and who are favorable to an opening with the Soviet concept, these are the very people who would be marked for extermination in this country.
Most of them, yes.
Or martyred, or just taken out because they cause a problem.
Psychological shock when they will see in future what the beautiful society of equality and social justice means in practice, obviously they will revolt. They will be very unhappy, frustrated people. And the Marxist-Leninist regime does not tolerate these people. They will join the links of dissenters, dissidents. Unlike in present United States, there will be no place for dissent in future Marxist-Leninist America. Here you can get popular like Daniel Ellsberg and filthy rich like Jane Fonda for being
Hollywood,
for criticizing your Pentagon. In future, these people will be simply.
A lot of Hollywood is owned by the CCP now, not Soviet Union, but Communist China.
This they don't understand, and it will be the greatest shock for them, of course. The demoralization process in the United States is basically completed already.
Yes.
For the last
this was 1984.
Actually, it's overfulfilled because demoralization now reaches such areas where previously not even Comrade Andropov and all his experts would even dream of such a tremendous success. Most of it is done by Americans to Americans.
You hear that? Americans to Americans. The left versus the right. Communists.
Exposure to true information does not matter
Republicans
anymore.
versus Democrats.
A
You hear
person
that?
who was demoralized is unable to assess true information. The facts tell nothing to him. Even if I shower him with information, with authentic proof, with documents, with pictures, even if I take him by force to the Soviet Union and show him concentration
Or the
camps,
CCP.
he will refuse to believe it until he is going to receive a kick in his fat bottom. When a military boat crashes, then he will understand, but not before that. That's the tragic of the situation of demoralization. So basically, America is stuck with demoralization, and unless, even if you start right now, here, this minute, you start educating new generation of America, it will still take you 15 to 20 years.
That's that long process. You get used to hearing it. That's why people are so scared of indoctrination in schools.
Normalcy and patriotism. The next stage is destabilization. This time, subverter does not care about your ideas and the patterns of your consumption. Whether you eat junk food and get fat and flabby, it doesn't matter anymore. This time, and it takes only from 2 to 5 years to destabilize a nation. What matters is essentials: economy, foreign relations, defense systems. And you can see quite clearly that in some areas, in such sensitive areas as defense and economy, the influence of Marxist-Leninist ideas in the United States is absolutely fantastic. I could never believe it 14 years ago when I landed in this part of the world that the process will go that fast. The next stage, of course, is crisis. It may take only up to 6 weeks to bring a country to the verge of crisis. You can see it in Central America now. And after crisis, with a violent change of power, structure, and economy, you have so-called the period of normalization. It may last indefinitely. Normalization is a cynical expression borrowed from Soviet propaganda. When the Soviet tanks moved into Czechoslovakia in '68, Comrade Brezhnev said, now the situation in brotherly Czechoslovakia is normalized. This is what will happen in the United States if you allow all.
We've already had our crisis time frame, okay? We've already had that crisis and destabilization process. I believe we're in the normalization process right now as all these leftist, Marxist, Leninist influences are in place, being repackaged as things to help the average person, which I really believe most of these people believe what they're believing. They just want to help the American people. But the power elite that's still there, the power elite of the left is just as bad as the power elite of the right. And there's another power of elite that I'll get into other shows. The ones that have the cash, the ones that have the money, the ones who have the corporations that they want in charge. Think about that.
All these schmucks to bring the country to crisis, to promise people all kind of goodies and the paradise on earth.
What did I just say?
To destabilize your economy, to eliminate the principle of free market competition, and to put a big brother government in Washington, D.C., with benevolent dictators like Walter Mondale, who will promise
Joseph
lots of
Biden?
things. Never mind whether the promises are fulfillable or
Benevolent?
not. He will go to Moscow to kiss the bottoms of new generation of Soviet assassins. Never mind.
Or
He will
the
create
CCP.
false illusions that the situation is under control. Situation is not under control. Situation is disgustingly out of control. Most of the American politicians, media, and educational system trains another generation of people who think
Exactly.
they are living at a peacetime. False.
We're not in
The
peacetime.
United States is in the state of war, undeclared total war against the basic principles and the foundations of
The 6 areas that was mentioned in the previous video.
The initiator of this war is not Comrade Andropov, of course. It's the system. However ridiculous it may sound, the world communist system or the world communist conspiracy, whether I scare some people or not, I don't give a hoot. If you are not scared by now, nothing can scare you.
Exactly.
But you don't have to be paranoid about it. What actually happens now, that unlike myself, you have literally several years to live on unless the United States wake up. The time bomb is ticking with every second. The disaster is coming closer and closer. Unlike myself, you will have nowhere to defect to, unless you want to live in Antarctica with penguins. This is it. This is the last country of freedom and possibility.
Yes, sir.
So what do we do? What is your recommendation to the American people?
Well, the immediate thing that comes to my mind is, of course, there must be a very strong national effort to educate people.
Education.
In the spirit of real patriotism, number one. Number two, to explain them the real danger of socialist, communist, whatever, welfare state, big brother government. If people will fail to grasp the impending danger of that development, nothing ever can help the United States. You may kiss goodbye to your freedom, including freedoms to homosexuals, to prison inmate. All this freedom will vanish, evaporate.
I have to say something here, okay? The videos you watch from this guy have a tendency to be very anti-homosexual, lesbian community, as a lot of people in the Soviet Union, not all. But once this system comes into place, any dissenters, either be the Soviet Union in his case or the CCP, which is what the biggest threat we have right now is. You dissent, you're gone. You disappear. Your lives are ruined. That's where we're at right now. And you can dissent on social media, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and then you're canceled.
Including your precious lives. The second thing, the moment at least part of the United States population is convinced that the danger is real, they have to force their government. And I'm not talking about sending letters, signing petitions, and all this beautiful, noble activity. I'm talking about forcing the United States government to stop aiding communism. Because there is no other problem more burning and urgent than to stop the Soviet military-industrial complex from destroying whatever is left.
And the American military-industrial
And
complex.
it's very easy to do. No credits, no technology, no money, no political or diplomatic recognition, and of course no such idiocy as grain deals to USSR. The Soviet people, 270 millions of Soviets, will be eternally thankful to you.
And the
You
Chinese
stopped
people,
paying
if
a
we
bunch
did
of
it against the
murderers to seek
CCP,
out and
they would love it, so they would have their freedoms, which they haven't had.
do not govern anything, least of all
I don't think they've had it ever, because they've always been ruled by some king, queen,
two very simple,
monarch.
maybe two simplistic answers or solutions, but nevertheless,
To warlord style of Chiang Kai-shek, to Mao Zedong, to this guy.
What's going on around? You are not living at the time of peace. You are in a state of war, and you have precious little time to save yourself. You don't have much time, especially if you are talking about young generation. There's not much time left for convulsions to the beautiful disco music. Very soon it will go, just overnight. If we are talking about capitalists or wealthy businessmen, I think they are selling the rope on which they will hang very soon. If they don't stop, if they cannot curb their unsettled desire for profit, and if they keep on trading with the monster of the Soviet communism,
With the CCP.
they are going to hang very soon. And they will pray to be killed, but unfortunately they will be sent to Alaska probably to manage industry of slaves. It's simplistic. I know it sounds unpleasant. I know Americans don't like to listen to things which are unpleasant. But I have defected not to tell you the stories about such idiocies as microfilm, James Bond type espionage. This is garbage. You don't need any espionage anymore. I have come to talk about survival. It's a question of survival of this system.
See, did you see that? The slow process, changing your mindsets. Okay, I said I was going to talk about the Great Reset, which nobody thought was possible 20, 30 years ago. But we're right there. The normalization process is right here. It started before World War II, because when the Communist Revolution happened in 1917, 1918, when the Bolsheviks came into power, they set up their system. They spread around Europe. They spread around the world. Okay? That caused World War II. Mainly, this system was formulated in the Soviet Union by the Soviet Union's KGB, and it's been replicated and repackaged by this CCP, and they're doing it the same way. They're attacking overtly through economic means, attacking everything that we stand true, run by a communist style of government, Marxist-Leninism. Marxist-Leninism, which is exactly the model that the CCP used. Okay. Towards the end, he mentioned how he would solve this problem through education and communication. But there was something he didn't mention, but in other videos that I'll put out there quietly, there is no reliance on religion. The belief that you have the right to believe in whatever you want to spiritually is gone. The government is everything. The big brother state. That's why I brought in Animal Farm through Orwell in the first video. Everybody's equal, but we'll find out not everybody is equal. In the previous video I said, do not treat your fellow kind the way man treats their fellow kind. Once the Animal Farm came into being, they were just as bad as worse than the ones that were controlling them when they revolted. That's the essence of Animal Farm and the Big Brother government, which is the essence of 1984, which is Orwell. This is how I'm bringing religion into it. Okay, the Great Reset. Did you see that? Here we go. The 4 pillars of the reset is changing your mindset. Remember, Yuri? The slow process of changing your mindset. Changing your way of thinking through all aspects of life. The 6 that I mentioned several times. To promote ourselves. Re-educate ourselves in their mindset. That And this comes from the World Economic Forum, which is operated through the United Nations, and hundreds and possibly thousands of companies are on board on this, already on board on this. You go look up the World Economic Forum, you checked out these 4 pillars, and they're exactly the same. They're packaged in such a nice way before they take over. But the number one thing I've learned over the course of the years as being a history teacher is that people mess things up. Greed of the individual messes things up. That's why you have to have checks and balances. That's why you have to have those checks and balances, because they will abuse it. Number 2, you have to create a new matrix or metrics. In other words, doing things for the right reasons, doing things for the right motives. Okay? The motives for everybody concerned. The government, the people, the corporation, the planet. Okay? It is a planet-centered philosophy. I have no problems with the fact of taking care of the planet. You cannot fix it when you destroy it. But it is about control. It's not about that. But the metrics are under the UN Human Development, Social Development Indexes. These things that are the right thing to do, and how do you measure these things for the right reasons, the right programs, the right economics, or I'll just say it again, the United Nations Human Development and Social Development Indexes. How is human development and developing through the United Nations? They're going to cite. Another one is the well-being matrix. Another one is the genuine progress index. The other one is the happy planet index. The planet's happy. We're doing this for making the planet happy. The gross, and believe it or not, there's actually something in there that I found was the gross national happiness index. Okay? Wow. But who comes up with these indexes? Who actually comes up with these indexes? Okay? 3, design new intentions. Okay? It's not on the emphasis on the almighty dollar. Making the buck, which is exactly what Yuri said. You have to do things for the right reasons. See, the same language is the same in his philosophy, the CCC philosophies, and the World Economic Forum, which is the Great Reset. Same philosophy, okay? All the language is being telling you this is the right thing to do. What do they feel is more important, okay? And the last one is build a genuine connection between people and government for the right reason. Same philosophy. How do you do that? I'll get to that in a second because I have a list of corporations and how they want to do that. They move away from the profit motive, which is exactly what Yuri said. But still, profit is important, but it's the profit to help the planet. That's what they say, okay? It changes the terminology. The language is different. Instead of shareholders, it's called stakeholders. The stakes are higher. The stake is the plant. The stake is the planet. The stake is the ozone layer. The stake is climate change. The stake is the carbon imprint, gas, oil. Look at a lot of the executive orders that happened just recently. Getting rid of the pipeline. We're not energy independent, we're energy dependent. Rejoining the Paris Peace Accords. About 2 months ago, the banking system went aligned with the Paris Peace Accords and the carbon imprint and the climate change, and companies that want to do that must sign on board to these beliefs, and they must push for those goals, or they are not part of the system. In other words, you can set up a company and you want to do something, but if you don't meet these goals, you don't get that loan, or you have to repay the loan at higher interest. They're already setting this stuff up. Look it up, okay? Okay, why is this so important, okay? This short little video, about 35 minutes, is for you. You go out there, you dig into this as well. You dig into this, it'll sound nice, but look at it from both sides of the coin. Okay, this is what they're going to try to do. This is from the World Economic Forum with all the sections of life. Businesses. They will partner with businesses such as Saudi Arabia, Shell, Chevron, British Petroleum. Food. For all these goals, okay? To have all these goals based on businesses, okay? Food. Unilever, Nestle, Coca-Cola Company, Bill Gates' company, where he bought a lot of land in food production, synthetic foods. He's a part of it as well. The tech partnership, get this. The tech partnership is with Facebook, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Apple. Many of those companies come from the CCP now that are made in the CCP, okay? Pharmaceuticals. AstraZeneca, Pfizer, and Moderna. Ooh, those last two sound familiar. But the biggest thing is that you have to really look into is that they regulate the policies for the planet. Not the government regulating policies for the country that you have. In other words, these things go through, these things get in, set, lockstep, in stone. What you have here now is the United Nations, these massive corporations, there's hundreds and hundreds of more, will make decisions based on their agenda, not the United States of America agenda. The government will be a part of it, but not the last decision maker. It's only one vote in that process. Do you want that? Do you want the United Nations to decide your educational system? No, I don't think so. Do you want the businesses of this country to be run by the United Nations, the World Economic Forum? I don't think a lot of you do. When you realize it's taken away your rights to run your own business, run your own life away, you have to say no to this. And these people in Washington are doing it. What do we have right now? All these policies sound very similar to a program that was brought up a couple of years before 2020, the Green New Deal. All these things from the World Economic Forum are pushed by the Green New Deal. All of them. Every single one of them. Also, there's also too, I have to go into the next section, which I'll close it on this. These and other things will decide it. Well, a one world government is being formed in the United Nations, and I'm still digging into. I pretty much know who's behind it, but I have to get more proof before I give it out to you. But a lot of you that know me know where I'm going with this. There's so much information. There's so many ties to these organizations that this one world government is on its way, and we're right at the last steps of freedom. And you're going to have to fight. You're going to have to change the electoral system so you can actually get a true vote. You're going to have to get it so that American citizens vote in American elections. You have to change the voting systems, the finance systems, all those things, because 2020 showed a lot of things that were wrong. Okay. The Great Reset goes through many of these things right here. It starts with what's called a transformation map. Changing your mindset, they say, it's an easy thing to do. It's as easy as changing your way of thinking. Why do they say easy? They use COVID or C-19 or the pandemic. We changed our mindset during the pandemic. Why? Because people were afraid of dying. This was not easy. This was not simple, and not a simple thing to do. Since you did it there, we can do it here. The conspiracy theory people out there say that that's why it's being dragged out. Okay? We'll never seem to get out of this cycle of another threat. We went from C-19 to a different variant. They believe, this is what they believe. There'll be another variant after that. There'll be another threat after that. There'll be another threat after that. Look down in the future. If they keep coming, remember this video. Remember this show. Okay? Ask questions. Be a free thinker. Tell them to give me the proof. And if I ask for the proof and try to put it out, don't ban me. Don't shut me down. Okay? The World Economic Reset 2030. That's already in there. Reset your own life. The reset according to Bill Gates. The reset for private property. The strategic intelligence reset. In other words, intelligence community. Reset gun control. Your change of thinking there. Reset build back better, which is the philosophy that 46 has. Reset your commercial life and reset of your commercials. When you're watching videos and when you're watching TV on your favorite program, look carefully at your commercials. If it's planet-based, they have an idea, which they really haven't formulated yet, but it's a nice propaganda tool. Go back to the propaganda video that I did a couple months ago. Watch your commercials. How are they saying it? Who's controlling them? Reset your books, reset your literature, reset your food, reset your tech businesses, and reset your resetting your COVAX. It means everybody gets vaccinated. They want everybody vaccinated, and to make sure that the lower income, the third world communities get vaccinated as well. So everybody's vaccinated. It sounds nice if you believe in that, but if you don't believe in it, you're banned. But the biggest thing about all these resets is one thing. They want the World Economic Forum to govern themselves. They decide what's important. They decide what the stake is or the stakeholder is. They decide. Every time we've tried that, it's been a mess. Jekyll Island in Georgia. The bankers set up a system in Jekyll Island around the 1920s. They set up the Federal Reserve System that they wanted to have. The bankers set up that system, and it was beneficial to them. That's the fear here. You give them every aspect of your life and reset it. And a handful of people are making decisions for millions and billions. It's not millions like the United States. It's billions. Because these companies are from all over the world. All over the world, and they're all tied together like the banking system, like Jekyll Island. So remember, if you learned anything from this video, like, share, and subscribe. Dig into it yourself. Ask questions of your friends. Look into how they think. Maybe you can take what you have and blend it and come up with a better idea. Instead of those corporate schmucks out there deciding for themselves what's important so they can make money and stop you. Question authority. Support our scholarships. The Gaige Robbins Citizenship Scholarship. Support the Bill Moore Citizenship Scholarship. Support Wounded Warrior Project. Support Epic Times. Support Useful Charts. The next video that will come out probably tomorrow, maybe later today, probably tomorrow, is the Marshall Plan. After World War II, Europe was devastated. Now it's 2021. Europe's been rebuilt. It's had a lot of issues since that time, but Europe was devastated post-World War II. We had to rebuild, we had to recover Europe. Okay? We had to rebuild its infrastructure. And in that infrastructure plan, there's things that have caused massive problems throughout the world. I will get into that after the Marshall Plan because I'll introduce that part of it in the Marshall Plan. So the next video will be honor, courage, and commitment here will be the Marshall Plan. Question authority. Think. Use this, not your emotion. And take everybody's opinions to yourself and use them if you can. Thank you. Simplify. Our country's at stake.